Hey there. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Aaron Young. I was born and reared here in Gallipolis in Gallia County. Born at the Old Holzer Hospital over on First Avenue, and that's the Old Holzer Hospital. That was there before the new one was built out there on 160. My parents, though, lived in Meigs County, and so for the first 2.5 years of my life, I was there in Meigs. So I'm a local boy. A number of the folks there in the county would know of my families, as well as here in Gallia County. I didn't grow up within a Christian home that went to church all of the time. Now, I'm going to be saying a few things about my family and upbringing. Please don't hold that against me or against my upbringing. I'm just telling the story of what's happened to me. My parents divorced right before I was 3 years of age because of alcohol that had entered into the family, and it had entered in so much that it caused a great disruption. And Mom took me, the baby, and left for down here in Gallia County. She was the Gallipolis city auditor and had that job. I grew up here in Gallipolis, went to school, Washington Elementary School, but what was taking place to me and with me and on the inside wasn't necessarily that great. I was probably like any other child, for the most part, here in present-day Gallipolis, Gallia County or Meigs County. Let's face it, a little 3-year-old boy isn't much male companionship for a 30-year-old woman. And the quickest and the easiest way for my mom to meet guys was at a bar. So it's very interesting that alcohol scene continued in my family. And there'd be guys who would be coming in as we lived over there at 127 Kenyon Drive. I didn't understand what was going on. Obviously I do now. And grew up around alcohol. There are some pastors who can brag that alcohol's never touched their lips. I can't say that because I was involved with that. Was also sexually abused by distant relatives when I was very young and over there at that house on Kenyon Drive. Also, in the midst of that turmoil, Mom married my first stepdad. They were both drinking at the time and so weren't necessarily thinking of the greatest priorities. Also, they purchased a restaurant here in town, Oscar's Restaurant. Perhaps some of you may remember it, down on Court Street. In fact, the sign is still up there on 57 and 59 Court Street here in Gallipolis. I grew up in the restaurant. They purchased it in February of 1979. So grew up in the bar there. Those first number of years when there weren't a number of other restaurants close, it was almost like New Year's Eve every night. There was lots of income. And my parents were making money hand over fist. And they were also spending the money. Once the restaurant closed, they were back behind the bar after midnight and consuming some of the product that's there. There was many a time in which I would fall asleep in the booths there and would wake up in my own bed. Grew up in the bar. Also, I am thankful that my parents taught me hard work. I didn't necessarily like it at the time. Those of you who have worked there, you probably know that, but it was good for me. Stocking the ice coolers, emptying the beer bottles, restocking the liquor bottles, cleaning the restrooms, cleaning the floors, sweeping, mopping, emptying the trash. It was an experience to say the least. And in the daytime when no one was there, it wasn't necessarily quite so bad. I didn't necessarily like emptying the ashtrays, but then at nighttime, the crowd was different. And I didn't necessarily fall into the crowd, but I'd smoked on the side. I also had some anger difficulties and found myself cheating in school, was shoplifting quite a bit and was beginning to be pretty good at it. My anger made me break things. When we had moved to 716 2nd Avenue, my bedroom was on the upper floor over on the right-hand side with those windows, that addition that's built on there. There were holes in the drywall. Articles of furniture which I broke in there because I was so angry, not just about the family that I was in and the alcohol and how it made things difficult, but also angry about my own life, about being sexually abused, about what was going on in life. I felt trapped. I was getting caught up with cheating, with stealing, and was a chronic liar. I would lie when the truth would have served me better. I lied about the most stupid things, and I was caught in those things. My friend, I want to make clear to you that it's not so much what happened to me as much as what I got caught up in. I was certainly on a trash pile, but I added far more trash to the trash pile that I was in. And it was difficult growing up. I look around and see a number of people in this day and age who aren't far from what I grew up as. In a number of houses here in Gallipolis and in Gallia County and Meigs County. People who grow up kind of mean, grow up difficult situations and feel trapped. My friend, maybe you're an adult, maybe you're a child, and you're listening to this. Keep watching. A difference was made in my life, and that made a difference for a number of people. Well, as I was engaged with all of that, and girls, all of these things that I was engaged in has left scars on my life. Because I was having so much difficulty, bullying difficulty at Washington Elementary School, as well as being bullied by bigger bullies, my parents sent me to a Christian school here in Gallipolis named the High Valley Christian School. And they thought at the time it'll be a reform school and help me so that I won't have the difficulties that I have. Well, I got to the Christian school, but I was such a liar. I knew that I wanted to survive well and I wanted people to think well of me. So I decided I'd shut my mouth the first couple of weeks and just observe how things happen. And in the first couple of weeks, I found out what Christians do and how they act and how they talk. And I was enough of a liar and an actor that within a couple of weeks, I could read the Bible with expression. I could pray with emphasis. And I could talk it. And I could walk it. But I didn't have it really on the inside. At the Christian school, I had everyone fooled. I would go home and live the same way in all of those areas. Well, God kept chasing me down. Once a week, we had chapel. We had Bible class every day, and the testimony of the Christian school teachers and the Bible classes every day. When I got there at the Christian school, I didn't know the difference between Peter, Andrew, Jesus, Moses. All I knew that most Bibles were black and had the Ten Commandments in there somewhere because I'd seen the 1956 Charlton Heston movie, The Ten Commandments, and that's all I knew about the Bible. My first Bible test, I majorly failed it. Well, in the midst of all of that, we had chapel once a week. And I had run away from God so much, and I was so sick and tired of hearing about Jesus wanting my life. See, I didn't understand. In my heart and mind, I would say back to him, "You want my life? You've already had my life, and look what a terrible mess you've made out of my life." Because I knew the stuff that I was trapped in and the stuff that happened to me. I didn't understand everything that I'm getting ready to tell you. I was running away from God. And finally, we had another chapel service in which the chapel speaker gave the greatest of news, the good news, called the gospel. It's found on these other videos that you'll find here on the website. And I heard it and I got angry. I went to homeroom afterwards, resolving in my mind I was not going to come back to that Christian school on Monday. I would go home, throw a fit. I would use the guilt trip on my mom and stepdad for their drinking to have them put me back in the public school because I didn't want God. But on the way back to the homeroom, a classmate of mine, Rachel, came up to me and invited me to an activity we were going to have that evening. And at the time, I thought, anything to get away from these stupid, bad thoughts that I'm having. And I went and had a fantastic time. At the end of that time, though, a speaker stood up to speak. I didn't know what he was going to speak on, but then by the end I did. He gave the good news of the gospel. And he had us bow our heads and close our eyes. I was so terrified because I knew if I didn't receive Jesus as my Savior, and if he didn't save me, I was going to hell. I was so nervous my eyelids were fluttering like this, and my hands were shaking on my knees. And the first logical thought came to me. I said, Aaron, why don't you trust Jesus and have him take all of your problems away? And so that night, God set me on the path in April. Well, God saved me. Now, I still struggled with those things. I still struggle with my past. God helps me with my anger, my filthy mouth. God took away immediately, although I still thought some of the words. Some of the other things left scars on my life, even still to this day, that I still have to deal with. But my friend, I found this in life. God has helped me. I have now a family that's intact. I didn't know, I had never seen how a family really interacts well with each other. That's not in a dysfunctional way. I have it now. I have children and a wife who love God. And even though we're imperfect, and even though there are difficult times, I've seen him answer prayer. I've seen him really help. Friends, can I tell you, here in this area, there's a lot of religion. Have you ever counted the number of churches around? There's churches everywhere. And everyone seems to have some knowledge about God. But also, there seems to be an awful lot of people who have knowledge about God and talk God talk like I used to talk it, but not really possess genuine salvation in a real relationship with Jesus Christ. Friends, it is real. And if you get serious with Jesus, he'll get serious with you. Not only will he save your soul for all eternity, you'll find him helping, breaking you free from the chains that bind you. He'll be helping you so that you can be different. Your family can be different. You don't have to be trapped. But my friends, it's your choice. And you have to count the cost. The cost of whether you want to continue to live life your way and end up the same, or whether you want to live life God's way and has his direction, have forgiveness of sins and his grace and strength to help you through the difficulties in life, really in life. I'm not just speaking the religious talk in this area. So, friends, that's my story. Do you have a story? Your story can be like mine. And I hope that if you haven't listened already, that you'll listen to those gospel videos that we have here on the website. It tells you how. I hope, my friend, that you'll just hear from a guy from this area. I deserve to be lower income. I deserve to be on welfare. I deserve to be struggling with alcohol and with drugs. I deserve to be in numerous relationships, having fathered numerous children. I deserve to be having a disease. I deserve to be alone, having wasted life and depressed and alone. That's where I deserve to be. But God in His grace made the difference. He turned me to Him, and He can do the same with you. My friend, I encourage you, turn to Jesus. Trust Him and His good news. If there is anything we can do here at First Baptist to be a blessing or help, we encourage you. Call, email. We'll be sure to get back with you. God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in.